Welcome to CivilNet. My guest is Sona Tatoyan, actress from the United States, who is now known as the producer of a film that is planned for the next couple of years, Three Apples Fell from Heaven. Sona, welcome to CivilNet.
Thanks, Salpi.
Welcome to Armenia.
Thank you so much.
Sona, this is a question I ask all of your ilk, all you actresses, artists, filmmakers. I am amazed that this is happening, that we're making films about Armenian issues. How? Why? What's changed?
Yeah. I don't know, all I know is, I guess, my experience. And, I grew up first generation American. My parents were from Halep. My father's a physician. Up until a year ago, he was lamenting why I was not a physician. I'm the oldest of 4 daughters, and it's the doctor, lawyer,
absolutely,
businessman thing that we always get, in the community. And I don't know if that's part of being a diasporan community, wanting to have like a quote-unquote safe road, which I don't necessarily think that there's anything that's a safe road or anything that's secure.
Not anymore, right?
Life by its nature is not secure or safe. You don't know what's going to happen.
And you've been an actress for how long?
I've been an actress since I was 8 years old, and I come from a family. My mother's family were actors, musicians. My grandfather was an actor and singer in Aleppo. My aunts were actresses, and it's in the blood, and it's been something that I haven't been able to deny, expressing myself in that way. And I don't even know if it's anything that's changed, because for me, I've always been someone who's just done what they do, and I think people are born that way,
Stubborn Halepti?
I don't know if it's stubborn Halepti, but growing up in a small American towns, and I'm the oldest, and I have a sister who's 2 years younger than me, and there's the apocryphal story of us going to the mall, and I'm 5 years old and I'm lost in the mall. They're finding me over the PA system, and my sister who's 3 is holding my mother's sweater or skirt with her thumb in her mouth, so it's like there's the disparity between, and by Karatem, it's like I fought to be in the arts in my family.
And do you find that this process now, trying to make a film called Three Apples Fell from Heaven, which is really not a folk tale but a people tale, a story of genocide, is this going to be an uphill fight? Are you fighting, or is it easy?
You know what? It's a process that started 11 years ago. Started in Armenia. I was here shooting another film called The Journey, and I came across a magazine article about this book, fell in love with the excerpt from the novel, met the novelist, and then it's been 11 years of just serendipitous events, going to the Der Zor with her, us becoming Insta friends, our first conversation lasting 2.5 hours.
This is Micheline Aharonian Marcom, the author of the book.
Yes, Micheline Marcom. And then the next year, deciding to go to Turkey, and my honeymoon was coming, so I combined the two and went to Turkey for my honeymoon, and had Micheline join me on my honeymoon and go to Kharpert, where the story takes place, where she's Kharpertsi and my father's side of the family is Kharpertsi. And I just knew in my mind that I wanted to make this film before 2015. Like, that was the deadline. So we're talking years 2004, 2005, and I didn't feel like that there was any kind of rush to push it. I just wanted it to be done for 2015. And then, we went to Beirut together, and it's just been this long journey of exploration and finding, and a small voice went off in my head this spring that said, this summer you have to go to Hayastan and start. This summer you have to start. So I had to come here, pick up my citizenship, and it was the Golden Apricot Film Festival. And I came here. Within 3 days I met Bahe Yakubian, who's joined me and is my executive producer. And one thing after another, we got in touch with Shaker Kapoor.
And who's the director?
Who's the director, who directed Elizabeth and many other beautiful films from India. He's from India. And
the scriptwriter? And
the scriptwriter is Jose Rivera, Puerto Rican screenwriter who wrote The Motorcycle Diaries. He was nominated for an Academy Award. Happened to be married to him.
Which is the only explanation for why Micheline ended up on that honeymoon with you.
Yes, exactly.
So that's an important explanation.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a journey that has been very blessed. That's all I can say. We got in touch with Shaker. Within a day, he read the script, called us at 6 a.m. from Mumbai and said, how can I be involved in this? This is the most beautiful script I've ever read in my life. And from that point on, every single thing that happened, it was just this series of like, I can't believe this is happening.
It's really worth mentioning that the book, the story, is an untraditional story.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It is not Armenians, you know, being the terrible victims and Turks being the terrible perpetrators.
No.
It's not black and white at all.
No, it's not black and white. It's a complex telling of the story, and I think it's a human telling of the story. I mean, the story that inspired Micheline to write the book was her great-grandmother's story of survival. Her great-grandmother was saved by her father's Turkish business partner's wife once the children's parents were gone, and the Turkish man, he had gone to war and died. All was left was the woman, and because of their relationship and how close they were to the Armenian family, she took the five children in and saved them, and that's why Micheline is here to tell the story.
And in this production process, are you collaborating with Turks?
Yes, I am. And I think at this point it's very important to do that. Now, there's a distinction between Turks and Turkish government, and I think people really need to acknowledge that. There's always a difference between people and governments. I mean, if people were to have aligned me with George Bush several years ago, I would have, you know, said, please.
No.
in a nice, simple way, yes, no, you know, and we have to make that distinction. We are not, our government does not always represent the people on the ground. Now, it represents some of the people, or maybe a majority of the people, or whatever percentage of the people, but not all of the people. And to make these grandiose blanket statements that all Turks are bad and all something chemki that it's just it's not eloquent, it's not elegant, and it's not informed or intelligent. You know.
Is the 2015 deadline helping?
It is, because I feel like, well, it's helping, and it's also like, oh my God, it's coming, you know. So it's I keep saying, look, the book, there are magical elements in this book, you know. There's magical, realistic for people who are readers and lovers of literature. It's very in the vein of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, you know. There's a character who dies, he comes back to life and approaches the Turkish...
It's not a narrative at all, it's a very different telling.
It's a beautiful pastiche, you know. The dead guy comes back and approaches the Turkish government as to, like, why is this happening, how did this happen? There are children who are dying under trees who imagine the lives they could have lived if they had been saved. It does not whitewash the genocide at all. That's the thing that I really want to make clear is, just because we're telling a full, holistic story does not mean that we are, you know, denying, making excuses at all. But we are also not telling just a black and white version, a reductive version of the story. You know, we have to show, and my feeling is, I want this film to be shown in Turkey, you know, and so do my Turkish partners, you know, who are, in my opinion, risking their lives to do this kind of work. You know, if they're coming on board to make this film, if there are Turkish investors in this film, you know, people who don't have an ounce of Armenian blood in them as far as they know, you know, who are humanitarians, who are working for the Kurdish cause, who are defiant of their government and the barbaric sort of denial that's gone on. And
you know, there's some people who say that in the case, for example, of Atom Egoyan and Ararat, that film did not help his career, that it was held against him by Armenians who expected something else, and by the film community who tried to peg him and put him in the corner. Does Shekhar Kapur, does Jose Rivera, do you have these concerns?
I don't. You know, I don't know why. Maybe I'm...
Ignorance is bliss?
Ignorance is bliss, totally crazy going in it from a different perspective. But, you know, I grew up very much an outsider-insider Armenian, you know. I mean, I was born in the States. I grew up in small towns in Alabama and Indiana where we didn't have black people or Jews even, you know. They did not know what we were. Syrian, you speak Syrian, what are you? But I spent every summer of my life almost in Aleppo, where I was baptized.
Quite an interesting mix of worlds.
Yeah, the Midwest of the United States and the Middle East, you know, and took my first steps there in Aleppo, you know, literally learned how to walk there. I mean, I don't know if there's a greater metaphor than that, you know, within the walls of my mother's family's home in Suleimani. And, you know, so I very much have that innate Armenian thing, grew up speaking Armenian at home because my mother would not allow anything else. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. It's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me, is my mother's insistence that we speak Western Armenian at home. And so, in hearing these stories of the genocide, you know, in Halep from my grandmother's sister, and then going back home to the States and being like, wait, why isn't it in the textbook? Why isn't it in the history book? Because I know it's true, because what are the Armenians doing in Aleppo with all the Arabs? and yet it's not here. And wait, America's supposed to be this great beacon of truth, so something's gone wrong, you know, and I got to get to the bottom of it. And I've been obsessed with that my whole life, and I think as human beings, that's what we have to do. We have to do what we do for truth, you know, and that's the bottom line.
Don't go further. That's perfect.
That's it. I mean, and Shaker feels the same way. You know, he's like, this isn't a film, it's a movement, you know.
It's a cause.
It's a cause. And Jose feels the same way. And, you know, and it's been very cathartic, Salpi. I can't tell you. I mean, each meeting I have, and, you know, for me even to go from, I heard this story about myself, which shocked me the other day, about how when I was 4.5 years old in Aleppo and my sister was 2.5 and she was going to be baptized, apparently the entire summer before she was baptized, I kept saying, "You're a Turk. You're a Turk. You haven't been baptized yet, so you're a Turk." I was like horrified when I heard that the other day, but that's how deeply ingrained that kind of like hatred and hurt is in us, you know, because of what's happened. I have no recollection of this. But for me to go from that through my 20s, you know, of being enraged after reading Balakian's book that this is not acknowledged, that people still deny this, how could this be?
This is Peter Balakian, Black Dog of Fate.
Black Dog of Fate. To then going to Istanbul, going to Eastern Anatolia, going to Kharpert, having exchanges with people on the ground, people who were past 100 years old, who remember, Kurds who remember their Armenian neighbors and their friends, and having these one-on-one conversations. And
in what language?
Well, through my friend who is translating, an American friend of mine, documentary filmmaker of mine, who'd been living in Turkey for 15 years, and my heart breaking open, and all my thoughts and all the things that I had been so staunch about completely crumbling, and every fifth word understanding, because oh my God, that word is Turkish. Yes. And at Mushagutin Metz, I've grown up in that community in Aleppo, that very mixed. Aleppo is 2 hours from Antep by car, you know. I mean, it's that same. There were no borders. There was no Turkey. There was no Syria. It was Ottoman. It was the Ottoman Empire where all these people coexisted, you know. And the yalancha and the food and all of it is like, it's so familiar, you know. That's what we know. That's where we're from.
Sona Tatoyan, whose overwhelming passion and the commitment to this is obviously apparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Salpi.
And good luck.
Thank you so much.
Sona Tatoyan, actress, producer of the upcoming film, upcoming in 2.5 years, of Three Apples Fell from Heaven. Thank you for joining us on CivilNet.
Thank you
for watching CivilNet.